All right, we're now joined by Alexis Cubit, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, Craig Smoak, Louisville. Alexis having a pretty nice run so far with what they're doing, Jeff Brohm, and also now year 2 of recruiting in the transfer portal.
Yeah, no, definitely, Smoak. It's been interesting because it's like one of the players we talked to earlier said, they're kind of a portal team now where it's just you get these big groups of transfers now that obviously last year helped them out quite a bit, and this year it looks like it's the same thing because they picked up quite a few good pieces in the portal, and obviously they know what they have coming up as far as scheduling goes. So, yeah, it seems like every day there's at least one or two that announce they're coming.
Alexis, their strategy has been like carpet bombing it. Like there's not a specific place there. It's not like they're getting Jeff Brohm's old players from Purdue necessarily or that. I mean, they've gone to Tennessee like 3 or 4 times to get guys. But what is his general pitch about this team where he's gotten, and it's not just volume. I mean, anybody can go get volume if you're just going to go and go, okay, I need these positions. It's the quality guys he's getting that he's winning these battles against other teams for.
Yeah, I think that he's selling the win now kind of mentality, and after the year that they had last year, it is obviously a lot more appealing and kind of is like a see, I told you kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think that they have a good amount of like NIL incentives. I know the collectives are very active. They also have where they've shown that they can reach the ACC championship. And then also, you look back at what he did at Purdue and you can kind of point to that for them to get the Big Ten championship 2 years ago now. So, I mean, yeah, he's got a pretty solid pitch and just the guy that he's put in the NFL. And you had one of his former players come back and during an interview say that, being at Purdue under Jeff Brohm helped me get to this point. So there are a lot of things that he can point to tell players, here's why you should come here. And obviously they're listening.
Alexis, were you surprised, and I know it's been a little while now, but how quickly they moved to go and get Tyler Shough when there's still remnants out there in the transfer portal? What was it from what you've been able to gather that was so appealing to Brohm and company about Tyler Shough in particular at quarterback?
Yeah, well, the kind of not rumor mill, but like the kind of talk that was out there was Shough and it was DJ Uiagalelei, which like, okay, he's following me at this point. No.
Yeah.
But it was, those are 2 guys that kind of really fit what Brohm is looking for. I mean, obviously you guys have seen Tyler closer than I have in recent years just with, the kind of player that he is when he's healthy. So I think just his stature, his physical skill set really fit into the Brohm prototype of a quarterback. And I think that, this year he's had a little more time to evaluate versus last year where it was just kind of one of those things where it's, let's get some guys in quick. Obviously, Jack was a safe option because he had experience with Jeff and with Brian Brohm, the quarterback's coach and Jeff's brother. But this year they had some time to, you never know who's going to go in the portal, but I'm sure you keep a list of guys and kind of keep in the back of your mind, like, okay, if this one goes in, let's go after him. And it just kind of seems like Tyler had that vibe. Obviously, he's a former high school teammate of Jawar Jordan, who was running back here at Louisville, now going to the draft. So I just think all those things really kind of help to get Tyler, and they had their eyes set on him. And also, he played against Jack. Him and Jack were quarterbacks in Arizona together. So all of those things kind of made for the perfect storm, and I think he'll be a really good addition if he can stay healthy.
What is the biggest ad for them outside of that? Is it Tyler Barron or is it Penny Boone?
Oh, my gosh. So I kind of think it'll be like Thor Griffith a little bit just because he's so highly regarded in terms of already being one of those, top NFL draft picks as far as D linemen. He won't be here till the summer, so they won't, get him in the spring. We'll have to acclimate a little quicker than some of the other ones. But I mean, the D-line is going to be good, but it's funny because I think really helps the perception of a Brohm offense, because when you think about Jeff Brohm's offense, you think passing, but for Jawar to have the game engine, I think that kind of helps to sell and get someone like Penny because of just how dominant he was, one of the statistical leaders in the country last year. So, no, Penny's going to be huge, and I think he'll help them to have an even more of a balanced offense than it was last year.
Alexis Cubit, again, Courier Journal Sports. If Louisville somehow is shrapnel, if the ACC eventually does blow up and they end up in the Big 12, will you promise to come cover a game in Waco?
I will absolutely have to cover a game in Waco, and I will be at George's and every other place that I possibly can.
So where is Louisville? I think I asked you this maybe 6 or 8 months ago when all hell was breaking loose with conference realignment, whatever. And, of course, the ACC ended up adding Cal, Stanford, and SMU. Where is the Louisville, not administration, Jeff Brohm, but the fan base when it comes to the ACC and where it is right now?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I don't really know that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to gauge right now just because when you think about just the ACC, I don't really know that Louisville has much options outside of it, and it's it's just a weird situation where Louisville is not really that signature school right now in terms of they could just kind of write their check and go anywhere. But as far as the fan base is concerned, I don't know. I don't know that anybody's really. I mean, I think, of course, they're thinking about it a little bit, but I think just with everything going on right now, it's just so much uncertainty that nobody really actually knows what actually is happening. So it's just, I think right now they're just so caught up in the excitement of Brohm, and I'm sure at this point they built up enough confidence to feel like they can win wherever they go, but. Yeah, Louisville's kind of that weird school where it's not where they're, big enough to pull a Florida State, but they're not, small enough to disappear. So, yeah.
So would you say that most, and I think this is probably true for a lot of ACC fans, are probably mad at FSU?
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of wondering, where that's coming from. I mean, I think it should be obvious where it's coming from, but I don't really know, where Louisville would kind of fall in that. I don't know right now if they want to play FSU, so I don't think they'd be too upset if they decided to go to a different conference, but it definitely sets a precedent that if you have enough money, you can kind of do whatever you want a little bit.
That's America, baby.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
right.
America in a nutshell, right? Alexis, I did want to get back and have one more question about the recruiting class. I guess the transfer class, I should say, was secondary the biggest priority, just based off the numbers? I mean, safety in particular, and then there's a couple corners added as well, but it just seems like that was obviously an area of focus, or has been an area of focus, I guess, with all of these portal additions, a bevy of safeties and a couple corners as well.
Yeah, no, I had thought about that right after Paula asked me that, but no, when you look at what happened in the USC game, it was very obvious that they needed some help, So I think that there was definitely a concerted effort to pull in some guys. I mean, you got essentially 2 starters from Tennessee that are now coming, both safeties. When you lost, Cam Kelly, and then obviously Josh Minkins, who was a former starter there at safety. And then, you lose Jarvis Brownlee, but you get back Quincy Riley. So, no, I think that was a huge thing. And honestly, the 2 years that I've covered Louisville, their secondary they've had some talented guys. So obviously, Quincy and Jarvis were good, but they do give up a lot of yards to more talented receivers. So I think now with just the kind of mentality that Brohm has and what he, wants to do, they needed those guys. And I think they've got a solid group of DBs that can really help because they were a little thin. Quincy played, all but maybe I think 30 snaps last season in games, in 14 games, however many it was. So, no, they definitely needed that. They got those guys, and that'll be really, really important here, especially with the schedule that they have.
With him and his success, and Jeff Brohm's going to be a guy that he'll be successful there and even more so wherever he was to eventually go throughout his entire career. I love his demeanor, great player. Was the transition about as good or seamless as they could have expected?
Oh, yeah, especially when you look at what happened with basketball or what is happening with men's basketball and bringing in former players. I think some people maybe were a little hesitant or worried about, okay, well, how is another former player going to do? But, I mean, he really came into the perfect situation. Say what you want about Satterfield, but they made strides, and they had a really, really good defense that last year that he was here, which set Brohm up. And just being able to retain a lot of those guys from that 22 team last year, in addition to adding portal guys, was really, really important in terms of, what he was trying to do. But no, it was definitely, the perfect situation. He talked about how, this is the time to come back home. And yeah, apparently it was. So I think it did raise the standard, though. And now people's expectations are higher in terms of what they expect from this team. And the schedule is going to be, a lot tougher with having to go to Notre Dame and having to go to Clemson. But I think it's still a winnable schedule. And I definitely foresee him kind of having that same mentality going into this year. And I mean, hey, they beat Notre Dame at home last year, so why not go try to do it on the road?
Alexis, you mentioned Kenny Payne and the basketball team, which is dead last in the ACC right now, and that is not a place that Louisville fans like to be. Do you feel like you're going to be covering a basketball coach search in the offseason?
That is the beauty of my job, Paul, is that I cover a women's basketball team that is ranked 16th in the nation right now. So I don't have those problems, but more than likely, yes. Our sports staff, my coworker, and the columnist will more than likely be covering a coaching search, which is unfortunate because I don't think Louisville has gone. Let's see, last year Brohm, correct. So yeah, it's been a little bit since they haven't had a coaching search, but I guess it gives Josh Hurd some good reps in in interviewing coaches. But yeah, it probably is going to be the end of the road there.
Yeah, that's just a place. That's a blue blood in basketball with their history, Denny Crum and all that.
Yep.
I saw where John Calipari even gave him a little bit of a support, like you would see an AD give a coach, a manager, his support, and usually that's not a good thing. But Calipari trying to go to bat for Kenny Payne, it was good to see that. Of course, Kentucky is really, really good. Alexis, always great to hear from you. Appreciate everything. Your memories of helping us when we were doing what we did back when you were in college, and so proud of what you've done throughout your career and now covering Louisville. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys. You guys gave me my start, so I'll also to you guys and love you. And anytime you need me, I'm jumping on for you.
Absolutely, we will. Alexis Cubit with again the Courier Journal and Courier Journal in covering Louisville. Garrett, I saw